Hello, good evening, and a very warm welcome to Rangers Radio.
Hello, good evening, welcome to Rangers Radio. Join myself, Oxtear, on the show this evening. Is your young Robert? Evening, Robert.
Evening, Ox, mate. How you doing? Feeling better after Sunday?
I'm going to take the Fifth Amendment on that, yeah. It's about time I grew up, mate.
It's just a game, mate, innit?
I want to take the Fifth. How are you, mate?
I am alright, mate. I'm alright. Disappointed, obviously, with the weekend, which I'm sure we'll touch on. I know you've done a lot about it last night, but don't want to dwell on it too much, mate. But aye, disappointing weekend.
Can I just send out my regards to Big AK, mate? And I know he's going through a lot and he's absolutely gutted that Claire's accessories have shut. So all the best for everybody here at Rangers Radio, yeah?
That's shocking. You didn't know that, mate. I need to pass that on.
Aye. I feel for the big game, though.
I'm sure you'll find somewhere else.
Aye. All right. Look, mate, I said my piece last night. You've not been on, and you say your piece. We'll get the phone lines open, and it's up to the callers, yeah? You take us where we go, mate.
Aye, of course, mate, of course. As I said, obviously disappointed the first half performance in particular. I think, again, we've shown that we've not started well in a game. When you look back at previous games, Livingston away, Falkirk away, we started slow, and it was the same again on Sunday. Let Motherwell get a 2-goal advantage into the a lot of concerns, particularly the defence, the shape, the setup in terms of the position, the understanding. We were just too easy to break down, getting behind a lot of open space, which Motherwell, to their credit, exploited. It's our weakness. They're going to identify it, and they've done it very quickly, and they hurt us with the 2 goals early on, mate. Second half, obviously the substitutes at half time impacted the game. The momentum was kind of there. You get the first goal back and you think that it's starting to swing a bit in our favour. We were more attacking. There were still areas where we could have and should have improved on. Of course there was. But when you get the second one, I know you touched on it last night, but I felt the exact same, mate. There was only going to be one winner looking like, and it was going to be us. I know Motherwell still had moments and there was breaks there, but I thought we'd done a lot better second half defensively than we did the first. Up until, of course, the last minute, mate, where we lose that goal. But again, you could look back on it and count the number of chances we had to go in front in that game, or even draw level late on with the Chimiti chance. It's a big moment in a big game. And a point could have cost different, mate, from losing 3, gaining 1. Could have been something. You know what I mean? You're still unbeaten in that run. You're still keeping the gap there as much close as possible without losing the game. But disappointing, mate. I can't disagree with the team selection. I think it's vastly the team that everybody would have picked, first and foremost. Mikey Moore, the obvious exception, but we knew his fitness of late was a bit of a concern. His form hasn't been good.
He was excellent when he came on, wasn't he?
It changed the game, and it was a simple thing, Ox. He got the ball and he drove forward. That was it. He was running into space, he was taking players on. We didn't have that in the first half. He was committing players to kind of come out the traps from Motherwell, and he was proving a threat. Unfortunately, he should have scored, aye. But to be honest with you, Ox, he shouldn't have had the chance to score, because I think Chimiti's got to score first, if that's the one you're talking about.
I agree.
So that doesn't happen if Chimiti hits the back of the net, mate. But he changed the game for me, the urgency, the intensity that was flat in the first half. But the team that he picked, I know AK said it last night, it was the team that blitzed Falkirk's second half. A lot of people wanted him to stick with the 2. He did. The team should have been more than capable enough to do in the job against Motherwell, but at the end of the day, the better team won overall in the day, mate. You've got to see it.
Well, I agree with poor in the first half, mate, and 2 goals. Can you put your finger on this slow start, mate? We're no winning 2 halves, mate. I've been banging on about it for a while, yeah. You know, and you think back, we were the last game we did start well. We were 2-0 up against that mob. and we blew a 2-goal lead, mate. Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, so we're not playing well in two halves. Have you got any thoughts on it?
It just comes down to the player's attitude and application in the game itself. As much as you can do training on the park during the week and all the instructions and the roles that you're set out to do, as soon as you cross the white line, you've got to go and deliver it. And whether it's a mental block, I know the word mentality will get flung about again, character, you've got to go and show that you're committed to win this title. What we saw in first half performance, you would say that the team didn't believe. You seen the belief at Falkirk that second half. There was a bit of belief in the second half on Sunday, but the first half, no, I can't put my finger on what it is. And as you said, it's not a one-off this season, mate. There's been games, as I said at the start of the show, Livingston away, Falkirk away, Motherwell at home, Game at home, good first half, but poor second half. So how do you fix it? How do you get a 90-minute performance? You can do as much training and coaching as you want during the week, as I said, but it's up to the players to do the job on the day once they're on that pitch. And ultimately, there's a handful of games there that they've not delivered that full, or at least the majority of a game performance.
Would you say that Sunday maybe showed up our weaknesses in my squad, mate? And when I say that, mate, I think that there's a few players that manager doesn't fancy it.
I think as time's got on, you've seen that he's got a settled 11 where possible. I mean, if you look at the team that started on Sunday, Robinson and Adiri, had they been fit and available, they'd have started. So there's only really two changes in that you'd probably expect for Danny Rule's preferred 11, and probably many supporters as well. But I think when you see the substitutes and who's in the matchday squads, just my opinion, mate, it's becoming apparent there's certain players that he maybe doesn't favour as much as others. You maybe look at the likes of Antman, hardly featured, Bayrami, hardly featured, Cornelius, I know there's been a bit of a fallout before that international break, but he went away, he played for Canada, so he's fit and he's available, but he's not been selected. So we're still paying parts of his wages. Whether he's considered for selection and it's due to the fallout that he's not, then that's one for the manager to decide on. But I think it's becoming apparent there's certain players that maybe he just doesn't have that belief or faith in. As much as it's a squad game, you can see who he turns to, who he's asking to do jobs for, and who gets the starts. I know people will debate the likes of Gassama starting, but we've had this discussion before, particularly out in the wide area. Skov Olsen's not hit the heights. Antman, as I said, hasn't hit the heights either. I know he's had injury concerns, but he's not done anything in the games that he's played to merit a start. So Gassama starts purely by lack of options. So I think that shows an area, as you say, of a weakness in terms of quality and maybe that edge that you're looking for your wide players. But I think it does highlight individuals maybe not in the picture as full as much as you'd like to be at this stage of the season.
I just they've had discussions and they're moving people on. I don't know how early you have them with people they're maybe looking to move on, and and there was something missing. I can't put my finger on it, but people might have with different players and maybe said, "Oh, listen, I'm not Asgard's biggest fan, but I started him." When the people were available, with Mikey Moore having the injury, potentially, Robert, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did it work out? No, it didn't. But that's after the game's done. Him and Gassama were poor. Yeah, poor. Young Magoma, who I think's a nice football player, didn't have a good game neither. And Sterling, who we've been saying, right, when he's fit, he's a man. Well, he looked rusty. I'll be polite there. He looked rusty, yeah.
He did. Yeah, I watched the game back this afternoon, mate, and
Wow.
you look at the second goal in particular. You see his position for when the ball comes in from the wide area at Magoma's side. He's the wrong side of the defender. For one, he's yards away from the ball, and Giga's in the middle of the box marking space. But it comes from Sterling's positional play at start that Motherwell exploit that back post area. But what's alarming is 3 of the back 4 is ones that we would all pick and say they're starters every day of the week. You say we look stronger, we're more compact. Well, Sunday we didn't, and that was the problem. And you've got to give credit to Motherwell. They played the way they wanted to play. they approached the game with intent to go and win it. They had something to play for. They're still trying to cement that kind of European spot. They looked more hungry than we were on Sunday. We are going for a title. They're going for Europe. But it appeared on Sunday, first half particular, they wanted Europe more than we wanted a title. I'm not saying it's done fully yet, by the way, but that first half, that's the way it looked.
No, listen, mate, we didn't start well. When you discuss it with people were saying they think that they all saying that they just thought they had to turn up. And look, at that level, mate, you know, we've got better players than Motherwell, but you've got to go with the attitude. Yeah, and we never showed that. We never showed it. We never got to them. We never. Whether people we could argue about all the shape being wrong, but we never showed that desire in the first 35 minutes. For the middle part of the game, we were okay, fine. If you look at it from about 35 minutes to about maybe 75 minutes, we were fine, mate. And then I think we thought we were going to win the game, and so did I. Agree with you, but we never played it the last, well, nearly 25 minutes, mate. Neither with the injury time, mate. We weren't great, you know. And we didn't. It was individual errors all over the pitch and maybe nerves, you know. But we were with the team with momentum. I fancied the strongly to go and win the game, and it went to 2 each. How wrong was that, mate?
You weren't the only one, mate. You weren't the only one, because as I said, the momentum had swung. You felt it kind of change in the stadium as well. When you get the first goal, you go, right, we're back in it. It's a 1-goal deficit. It's a lot better than 2. But when you get the equaliser, we were on the ascendancy. We were on the momentum had shifted. We were getting more forward, more bodies in the box. But by doing so, we left ourselves exposed at the back, and we paid the price for it by them getting the last goal in the last few minutes. We still had a chance to equalise, so we're still creating chances. But again, what went wrong was simply the attitude of the application. That's what went wrong. And I know people could make an argument for individual players or the manager at points during that, but it's the players that take to the field. The manager can't do anything about work rate, determination, or attitude. That's in a player.
Aye. Well, honestly, mate, I never noticed Gassama on the pitch. I said it last night. I think it was about 12, 15 minutes or something, mate. I was like, well, out in the left, you know, and I don't think I would like to know when he actually touched the ball. By the way, I seen some today. I mean, I thought it was a booking. I didn't think it was a penalty. The naked eye. You've got views on it. Do you see it right with the line and the perfect picture? But I'll tell you what, you can debate the penalty. That's up for debate. But it was a yellow card all day long, mate, and that influences the game. And that's the let's just say the dark arts of certain people. Yeah.
It's definitely a booking, mate. I think if that happens anywhere else in the park, it would be a yellow card.
Mhm.
I know you can, as you said, you can debate whether it's in or out, and it goes back to the old more in than more out, but it's hard to tell, even just looking at the images of where the contact is. I know Gasman's foot's in the box, but is his contact on the back of his leg that's out the box? Does that make it out? Does that make it in? You'd never know because it wasn't even checked, but the fact it wasn't a booking, again, just shows you. But I'm not using this as an excuse, but that refereeing performance as well was shambolic, absolute shambolic. At times he was starting to lose control. Another one of these experienced referees, like John Beaton recently against Dundee United, where he was starting to lose control, and that happened again on Sunday. And there was a lot of fouls, a lot of pushes that went amiss in favour of Motherwell. I'm not using that as an excuse. We didn't play well enough first half to take advantage and get a lead in the game, but there's factors involved again with these officials. But end of the day, we never done enough in the game really to go and win it. A draw, last minute chance, you probably would have took it, especially when it 2-0 down. But I think you said it last night. It's the manner of how we lost and the timing of the defeat when time's running out in these games.
I would say that people would argue that it was the referee's finest performance since Katic and Kent scored at Parkhead, mate. If you ever get time you want to see a refereeing performance of a different class, have a look at that one, mate. Yeah, I would say it's his finest performance since that day, mate. And he's had some good ones in there. Yeah.
You could make a montage for all these referees this season, mate. There's been a
But
comedy of errors and comical decisions, but we're not surprised by that.
no, I'm with you, mate. Listen, I'm not using it as an excuse. We didn't start the game well, and we got what we deserved. Listen, somebody sent me something today, and I've not checked this out, Robert. You know, Jack Butland, before we open the phone lines, mate, 10 shots in the last few games, 9 have went in, mate.
Aye, suppose all saying goes, and I know I'm one for giving out stats and stuff. You can make stats look like anything. Everybody keeps telling me, but how many of them could he have done better? I think the first goal,
The first one.
I had to watch it back. The view I had, I didn't think it was near him. But on watching it back, I think if he goes with his foot or leg, then he saves it. But over the rest of them, how many is he culpable for? But the only reason these shots are happening as well is because we're not defending well enough in front of Jack Butland, and that starts from the front to the back. It's a team game defending. You attack as a team, you defend as a team.
But he's there. He's paid probably to make the odd save, mate. Yeah.
Aye, and let's be fair. You go back to the start of the season, he was the guy that was keeping his in games and keeping the scores down. We were getting clean sheets. He was part of that squad that done that. They went on the run of getting clean sheets and wins consecutively. But of late, goals are starting to leak in. It was fine when we obviously take the defeat away from Sunday. We were scoring loads of goals, but we were leaking goals. But we were saying it was okay because we were scoring 4, 6. Now, when you're losing 3-2 at home, you do start to look at them more closely, and rightly so, because it is becoming a weakness.
Aye, by the way, the defenders need criticised as well, mate, because obviously you're right, mate. The last 3 games, I mean, we've scored enough goals. We've scored 12 goals in the last 3 games, mate. Yeah. Yeah. But we've conceded
That should be enough to win your games.
We've conceded 8, mate.
Aye, that's worrying. But when you say the
Oh, we see my lost young Robert there on mid-screen. You all right there, Robert? Yeah, I'll be right back with us. What the technicals are. I'm sure Mr. Fox might be sitting there. Maybe come and join us for a second. It'd be great to hear his views on the weekend.
How we doing, up?
Yeah, good to catch you, mate. How are you doing, mate? I know you're generally a positive guy, yeah, you know, but what's your take on it at the weekend, bro? Before we move on.
I think the Motherwell manager outfoxed us, mate.
Out Fox, in there.
No, I think Danny Rowe and stuff had a good look at Motherwell, but didn't expect them. They actually Motherwell played a 4-2-2-2, and the box midfield and the midfield that swallowed up Chukwani and Raskin, mate, and the two up front, Malboisi, I think it was, and Longello played right on the touchline, mate, which left our centre halves with not knowing where to come out or wherever when the ball gets struck to them. And it stoked us going forward with Magoma and Sterling for the first 20 minutes, I thought. Motherwell's slick passing and opening up the space absolutely killed us in the first 20 minutes, mate. So, in fact, I think we were lucky to go in 2-0 down. It could have been more, mate. Second half, Danny Rowe turned it around, mate. Got us back in the game, made the changes, got us back into the game. And just for lack of finishing, we could have stole it. I don't think it was all round as bad a performance as people are making out. I think the credit's got to go to Motherwell in the first half. But people no giving the credit for the fight back we had in the second half, mate.
Aye, but I think that the downside of that, and I don't disagree with you. I mean, we've had worse performances this season than one. But Sunday's game was all about winning, mate. Yeah, it was all about winning, wasn't it?
Of course it is, but as usual, it's not just us as a sport. You always disregard the other teams and think that we'll just automatically run out the tap of people. I think not only us have felt that this season, I think that across the city's felt it as well. They've been a bit more fortunate in their games than we have. Hearts have been really fortunate, mate, the last 6 games with the breaks they've been getting. And unfortunately, it was us that dropped the first points, and it's really damaging.
Timing in life's everything, mate, huh?
Oh, without a doubt, to lose the first one out the run in was a big blow. You know, that was really damaging.
Can you put your finger on it, Fox? Because the team was pretty much close to who everybody would have played, wasn't it?
Yeah. As I say, we've got to be honest and just tell the truth that Motherwell were better than us for the first half. But if we'd have won that, mate, people would have been talking about Motherwell's collapse in the second half. And people are also comparing it to the Falkirk game, where we lost two quick goals. But then again, the weather played a lot in the Falkirk game, as it showed. It was all Falkirk in the first half with the wind behind them. Second half turnaround, it was all Rangers. So different circumstances, different games, mate. Anyway, we've been rejoined by Robert. I can bow back out.
You're welcome anytime, bro. Anytime, isn't you, Robert?
Yes, indeed. Apologies for that, mate. Technical problems as always.
These things happen. Will we get the phone lines opened?
Yes, let's do it.
Yes. Let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972? It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
I'll go back to the squad, Robert. You know, it's the manager. People like their own players. That's, I think, when everybody's followed football for a long time. You know, and bar a handful. These are no house players, so we're going to be moving on at some point, and then we'll maybe see the real Danny Rowe. But look, there's still a lot to play for before we throw anybody under the bus. I think there'll be changes. And nobody's safe, mate. You know, people might want to go and play. Other people might have earned reputations. There might be decent money coming in. You know, I said last night on the show, and I would like your thoughts on it, because you're a relatively intelligent young man. That everybody's got their price, mate. I don't think if a crazy bid for anybody, I think every team now in modern football, people just go, you know. There's no, that's the change, mate. Doesn't matter whether you're playing in the echelons of the Champions League or you're playing in the Champions in England. Somebody comes in with anybody perceives to be a crazy bid, and people go, because you just can't. You've got to do it as a club at all levels, mate.
You do, mate. You can't stand still. You've got to reinvest in the squad, and you've got to sell players at the right time. That's what it's about. It's the right time, whether the money is right for that player at the moment in time. If you think there's a better player out there that you can go and get and reinvest in the squad with that money, or players for the value that you get, you've got to do it, because you've seen before, even recently, in times where there's been players who were probably at their peak, we could have got a bit of money in for them, and unfortunately didn't take the gamble and sell them for the money to reinvest in the squad, and they go for nothing. So then you're right away you're down money, because you're having to go and get new players in rather than just bringing in money first and reinvesting. So you've got to just take the gamble at times. It might be you sell a fan's favourite, or you sell somebody that's contributed well over a number of seasons, but you've got to improve the squad going forward. You can't exactly keep anybody for longevity. I know certain players maybe stay longer than they should, but when you're trying to build and move forward, you can see the idea Danny Rule as a manager's trying to do, bring in a young physical side. So when money talks, it does. That's what the world we live in now. Money talks in football. Players will have aspirations to move on as well.
Is that the tune tonight? Neil Diamond, isn't it?
I don't know. It could be out of Fox's classic books. You never know. But what I'm saying is, when the money is there, it's the gamble of do you take it or not. Because if you take it, the player goes on and does successful. If you're smart, you maybe put a sell-on clause so you get money again. But if you keep them for another season, they don't do so well. They're a year down the contract. It's less money to play about with. So you've got to find a balance of what's right for the squad, what's right for the player. In their eyes, they'll want aspirations to go and play elsewhere. Fine. But while you're here, you do the job. And if you make us money at the same time, bonus, and you be successful first and foremost.
It's a very hard judgment call, mate. And listen, if you're sitting there, you've got somebody that's played every game for 2 seasons, They're not like you doing. Somebody, as you use the term, fans' favourite. Somebody comes in with a stupid bid. You're sitting there thinking, saying, right, statistically, this guy might be due an injury, and we've got to move him on. And by the way, if the deal's right for the player will want to go. And my view is, if the player does want to go because of it, I just don't. I think you're better shaking hands, taking the money, moving on, mate. It's no nice as supporters, and but that's just modern football, mate. And I think if a player wants to go, mate, no good to you, really, are they?
No, because they're not fully committed. You've seen it with Igerman at the start of the season. Didn't want to be there under the manager, which, when you look back, is probably the right decision. They didn't want to be there. But you take him as an example. Didn't want to be there, didn't want to come on the park at St Mirren. So why keep a player around that's not fully committed to the club when you can get money? You maybe have to take a drop if that's the case in terms of valuation, but I'd rather have a player there committed who is less money than somebody that's earning high wages but not fully all in. Because at this club, you need a lot of commitment, you need dedication, you need effort. If you don't have that as a player, then you're not going to do well here. You're going to be sold very quickly. But if you give us that, then you'll be successful, hopefully, with the players around you as a squad. But there's no point keeping somebody that's not all in to the project.
I agree, mate. I agree. Just the two players, particularly, never started. We'll throw Mikey Moore in with that, yeah.
Mhm.
And they're burying Romans, mate. How key have they became for us, mate? They look a better team with the two in it. Maybe arguably the three of them, mate. Yeah.
Well, I think Romans we've touched on, as soon as we've seen him, mate, the first impressions were this guy looks a real find. You can see the attacking threat he gives you. He's got bags of energy up and down that left. He can overlap, he can invert. He seems to have a good relationship with Mikey Moore out on the left. Moore is the only player in the team that looks to get forward, whether it's passing forward, driving with the ball. He certainly brings a lot to the floor. He's creative enough. He's got that extra level of quality in him. You can see it in the dairy. As much as people thought he was coming in as a striker, I've said it before on the show, there's a lot more to his game than scoring goals. And I think that's what Danny Rose been using him as. You see the threat he does, just his movement, moving side to side, bringing defenders out, giving space to like Mikey Moore. His aerial threat, his energy, it's not just all about goals. Ultimately, that's what he's judged on as a striker. But I don't think he's the out-and-out striker for us Ox. I think he is that kind of guy we were saying is the missing link between the middle and the front. I think he's became that, and I think that's apparent in these games that he's been out. That there's just that element missing in that final third, which causes a few problems without doing anything too drastic or too noticeable. It's very much under the radar.
I've not been overly impressed with Majowski. I thought a good game in the second half against Kilmarnock, and he scored a few goals at Ibrox, coming on the bench and all that. So the last few weeks, he's looked at the player the finisher we knew. But the piece of the pair. But I will be honest here, mate. I thought that he put a shift in the first half. I thought that there was no cohesion with everybody pressing. I think at times him and Shermity were trying their best. And your shape was all over the place. We weren't gone collectively. So I don't want to. I'm saying we missed in their dairy. It's no slight Majowski, and I think would have been better in hindsight if Majowski would have on the bench ready to come on in the last 20 minutes. Yeah, but that's hindsight, mate.
It is. But we spoke on Friday night, mate, and we were doing our usual thinking who would we start and how is it going to set up. And I had Majowski on the bench, and I've said it before. To me, he's a kind of impact player. When you're trailing in a game or you're drawing a game, you turn around, you look at the bench, you look for who's the guy that's going to get you the goal. To me, Majowski would stand out in that lineup on the bench, and I think that showed on Sunday that he is more of an impact player. Same as Gassama, I think it's now evident that he is an impact player. But again, he's getting the start because it's the lack of options out wide who have came to the floor, who've delivered, who've put in the performances consistently. So you can chop and change, but Gassama probably after Falkirk, some would say deserved to start because of the energy he brought second half. He played on the left, he started on the left on Sunday, but he's a passenger. He was absent, as you said. You didn't notice him on the park until late on into the first half, which isn't right as a winger, especially at home at Ibrox. But again, it's the the options are there, but Danny Rowell's got ones that he'll trust and put the faith in more than others, it seems to me. But there's certain players that give you that edge, and I think we've been missing that of late. But for me, Miovski falls into the category of an impact player from the bench.
Listen, mate, you know, if people think they're getting in the team and they've not got to drive standards, mate, it's no good. You know, and maybe when you look at it, we're about 4 players short. But I recognise we couldn't sign him because he's got players he would want to get out the door, you know, and that's always the hardest part, mate.
It always is in football. It's every transfer window. It's hard to refresh a squad because you've got to get ones out that are either not playing a lot of game or have underperformed. And if you don't get suitors in for them, then you're left with them because they're on contracts. And some of the contracts are quite hefty. They're quite comfortable to sit on. We've seen it over a number of seasons, even recently. Matondo, the likes of him. So players will just be quite happy to accept taking the wage with the minimal effort. But that doesn't sit right with us as supporters. We demand full effort, full commitment, regardless if you're getting 8 grand, 28 grand, whatever. We want a full team effort. But there's certain ones that maybe are just comfortable in doing that.
Aye, you know, don't get me wrong, they're not all doing that, you know. Some players will be players leave because they want to play, you know, but the other players will do that. It's just people in life, innit? You know, because they're football players, we think we don't want to get anywhere, we should get rid of. Well, if you had a contract with your employer and you were due X, you'd want it, wouldn't you?
Oh, of course you would. Of course you would. You've signed the contract and you expect to be adhered to in that contract. So it's the same for footballers when they're playing or when they're not playing. They've still got a contract. They're still earning their wage, but we want to see them deserve that wage. It's fine when you have a wee cameo here and there. You have a moment, you'll be praised for it. But over the piece of a season, when you look back and go, how much did they really contribute? Or over the length of their contract, what did they contribute? And over times, there's been far too many not contributing enough for your liking compared to what they should be, expectation versus reality.
Aye. And some of the guys, we talk about Barjami, you've seen Barjami on the pitch, mate. And at times he's looked an excellent player. Yeah, but then times he's just, like Gasman at the weekend there, they've been non-existent, you know. I know it wasn't against the top side, but he scored a wonderful goal at the start of the season. Didn't matter who you were playing, it was one he curled in for the left-hand side with his right foot, mate. It was a wonderful goal. You know, the technique, any game against any opposition, it was a wonderful goal. You know, so you know he's got ability. Maybe like Asgard, the goal he scored against the United Ibrox that day was an excellent goal.
Mhm.
But you need a level of consistency, mate. That's the thing. You need to be up for it, and obviously that's what we've seen with certain players. Let's say over the last maybe few years, you know, they've not got that level of consistency. Yeah, that you have to grind out when you're not playing well. You still have to put the hard yards in, mate.
Yeah, you do. You have to do the hard work and the effort and the basics in football, regardless of how well you've been playing or whether you've been selected as often or as not as you like. But again, that comes down to the players' attitudes, the application that they put in. That's not down to any manager, and in our case, obviously Danny Rowell at this moment in time. So that's for me is a player attribute, whether they've got it or not. You can't teach it, you can't coach it. They've either got to have that desire in them to do the basics, do the hard work, and at times get you through the struggles. I mean, you come away on Sunday, everybody's frustrated, feeling aggrieved that we've lost the game in the manner and the timing of the game we've lost. But you want the players to react and step up, not shy away from anything and come out fighting these next 4 games. This result has left it out with our control because we still need Hearts to slip up, even if we go and beat them and Celtic and across the city. So you need players to step up at this moment in time, and that's the frustration we've seen. There's not been enough players stepping up, and when they have, they've not done it consistently enough. But again, you can't coach consistency in a player. It's down to the player's attitude and application on the days that they play the games.
Well, they stepped up, they were performing, mate. We were happy with scoring goals, but that losing goals has been there, mate. We've seen it. And it's been different players and collectively at times, you know. And obviously, I pointed out, I think the goalie's run into his form's not been great in the last month or so, yeah, because he's the ultimate, the guy that's there to save shots. The odd one, I'm not expecting him to get everything, and I'm not saying he's been at fault for maybe even a majority of the goals, no, but he's got to make the odd save, mate. Yeah, he's got to start being more consistent. Yeah, you know, and you pointed out the first one there at the weekend, yeah. Arguably the second goal, the equaliser against them, mate, when he should come and just punch the ball and take everything and clear it. Time's running out. I don't get it when the cross comes in. You know, there's just two, mate. And if you don't lose the two goals, who knows where you're sitting? Yeah, you know, goals change games, mate. At both ends of the pitch.
Oh, of course they do. Of course they do. It's so cliche, but you're right because, as I said, you'll even look at Sunday. Jimmy's chance at 3-2 down, last few minutes of the game. 1 point is better off than 3 because you're still within touching distance. It's still within your control. But by not scoring that chance, it then goes out with your control. Butland doesn't make the save for the first one at 0-0. If he saves that, then Motherwell go on and get that second. Do we maybe waking up and say that's the warning shot? It's moments that do change games, and when it becomes goals, they become crucial, especially when you're going for a title, Ox.
Yeah. You know, and I'm not blaming Butland because we didn't start the game well. I'm not saying, you know, once the boy gets a shot, and that's not his fault. He's done nothing wrong up to that point. And then that's when he earns his wages, mate. Yeah. After that boy gets a shot. Yeah.
Aye, of course. You can sit and look back and say, where could we have prevented that goal from the minute we lost possession or the shape of the team? A lot of things can happen before it gets to the keeper. But once the shot is upon you, it's down to you as a goalkeeper. That's your job to keep the ball out the net. And I know, as you say, you take the stat and you say, here's the shots he's faced and these are the goals he's got. How many has he actually been at fault for? You need to look and see, really. Again, probably not the majority, but how many of the shots has he faced that have been saves? Not many, because even at times when we weren't playing well, there's a lot of possession games, we weren't giving teams a lot of chances. You look at Falkirk game of the week, you win the game 6-3. Second half, they get maybe one shot and it's a penalty. So the second half, you go, well, he's had these shots at him. He's conceded 3 goals, but how many did they actually threaten his way? So you can make it look like anything. But of course, once you lose the game, you start to look at it more closely. Once you start leaking goals over a number of games, it starts to increase of where the quality has been. You start to put everything under scrutiny. And he's not at fault for all of it, as we say, but it's a team effort, as I've already touched on. But you've got to kind of be a collective. You win together, you lose together, you improve together.
Aye, that's fair, mate. That's fair. Right, we changed the subject slightly differently. I'd be interested to get your take on it. Yeah, obviously it broke last week, but it's still bubbling away. And this ticket debacle, mate, yeah?
Mhm.
You could see it coming a mile off it. Everybody could have. We knew what we were up to, yeah?
Oh, you knew. Obviously, I done the game after the cup game. I was on the show with AK. We seen the scenes, we seen the aftermath, and we even said then that you wouldn't be surprised if that was the end of the away support. So you probably expected it to happen. I think the way it's been worded and the way it's been requested is quite shambolic because you're discriminating a certain group of your support. It's a very small percentage that group make up of the actual allocation. But I think the way it's been worded is obviously made it a lot more direct than what it could have been. If they just said there's no tickets due to the safety, I would still be frustrated and annoyed because they've caused the problem. First and foremost, they caused it by the scenes that they started with at Ibrox. But we've seen it coming. You're right in what you're saying. We did see it coming. Nobody's surprised, but I think people are surprised with the fact that how direct the request was. And I think it's just shambolic, Ox.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to debate history, mate, but look, it is what it is, and they made an agreement, and they took their part of the agreement, and now they're reneging, mate. Yeah, and I've said for a long time, I didn't think it was the same game without away support. I've known they all put Bergkamp. I don't care if we ever see one of them back at Ibrox. And that makes it hard for our away support, because I'm actually supporting Southside and the boys like that, because I've had some fabulous times up there, mate. And everybody, when you win, it's fantastic. You remember it. But however, the strokes they're trying to pull to give themselves every advantage is wrong, mate. And if they can't guarantee their safety, and they wanted 8,500 there, I think 7,500, sorry, and we had to deal with that and told them there was issues. Did they listen? They'll be funny about when that inquiry says. I bet you that'll come out maybe July when everybody's interests are elsewhere. But anyway, look, we told them there was issues, that they listened, and then we're getting punished twice, mate. We have to deal with it. And for the integrity of the competition, it's no apples for apples, mate.
No, it's not. That's the thing that the SPFL now have to deal with. I know they've set up this subcommittee to basically make the decision because the clubs couldn't agree on the allocation. So before the season starts, they've agreed that these are the allocations. Of course, you can look at what happened at the scenes at the Scottish Cup game, but that's from the change of something that's already been agreed and established that this is what's going to happen. The SPFL now have got to stick to their guns and for the integrity of the game. Whether they do or they not will be remaining to be seen. But I tell you something, Oxy, if they don't, then they're opening themselves up for a lot of criticism, even more than they have done over the seasons. But if they were to turn around and back Celtic in this stance, then that opens up a whole new can of worms for them to deal with. Ultimately, they've got to do it for the fairness and integrity of the sport and the game. The fans should be allowed in, regardless what part of the support you're with, whether it's the Union Bears or you go as a main supporter. You should be allowed to go to that game to support your team. You buy your ticket, you support the team through thick and thin. Who is any other team in this country to tell another team who you can't give a ticket to? That is controlling football. That's trying to control the game. They've went and allowed their game brigade back in.
There was people in their stand that day who were banned for their own grun.
Exactly, I was going to say that. They banned their own ultras from the home games, sold them tickets to an away game, which prompted and caused trouble, which we've all seen. It's all facts, it's all there. It's nothing up for debate. Now they've allowed them back in and they want to shut our fans out. Why? Simply to get an advantage in a title race. There's nothing else other than that. It's not to do with the safety of players, because we could easily turn around and say, well, we can't guarantee the safety of our players because your fans might invade the pitch. We're more than entitled to say that. So the only reason they're doing it is for an advantage. And the SPFL need to recognise that. And if they don't, then they become liable and a lot of questions would be asked about them.
For the integrity of competition, everything should be fair. Yeah, everything should be right and fair. And by the way, Scottish football's got itself in a mess because the integrity of competitions, because you then go back to the split, mate. Yeah, then you go back to the split. And all the other things, mate, it's just, we've got ourselves in a mess, mate. And they don't seem to be waking up to it. Yeah, because this league title and this championship isn't exciting because of the split, mate. It's exciting because there's teams close to each other. Nothing to do with the split.
No, it's nothing at all to do with the split. As we've said on our show previously, that a lot of teams, even in the bottom six, have caused a lot of the teams in the top six problems, just taking some points off them. So the split's irrelevant. As you say, it is exciting because it's a 3-horse race, not a 2-horse race or even a 1, as it has been over the years, which for us has been quite frustrating and hurtful to look at and recognise. But that's what the excitement part. There's 3 teams vying for a title, and that's when it should be fair. You look at even Hearts, many tickets we're getting away for that game? 576, or something like that. Falkirk are sitting saying they're going to review our allocation. So there could be, if we were to get this title, Ox, away fans at Hearts, none at Parkhead and none at Falkirk, or a very little number at Falkirk. How is that fair in any way whatsoever to our support who follow far and wide, week in, week out, paying the hard-earned cash to get to games to back a team? How is that fair? I don't see any other team being punished or scrutinised as much as yours.
Yeah, Yeah, well, Scottish football hating itself to death. That'll never catch on, mate. That'll never catch on, eh?
No, it's too far gone. Even if you try and fix it, we've spoke. How do we improve it? How do we fix it? We've not got the answers, but it's simply because it's too far gone. They've got themselves right in a rabbit hole that it's too deep to even get out of. One simple fix isn't going to change it. There's too many problems involved in the game, whether it's officials, VAR, ticket allocation, the structure. There's just too much to fix, and not enough time to fix it or rectify it. It's going to take years to even get back to what might have been years ago when it was exciting, packed stadiums, end to end, fans loving going to away trips. None of that is even apparent these days.
No. Obviously, listen, I don't have a problem if, if Hearts are getting, if it's 5% the rules, and that's the rules that people agree, and that's what you get. Well, that's how you deal with things. If that's the rules, I don't maybe like it. I don't understand the rationale, because this will be the first time we played at Hearts when the ground's been filled when we've been there. Let's be honest, every game we've played, there's been hundreds and hundreds of empty seats all over the place. Yeah, they've done well. They've maybe sold their season tickets, but there's still been hundreds of empty seats. Yeah, at times we know that. And we had about that myself at the start of the season when people were frustrated with the previous manager. So look, but that's the problem when people can't get tickets and there's maybe thousands of empty seats. It doesn't make sense, mate.
No, it does. It doesn't, and it kills the game, and it's never a good look as well when, especially when it's a televised game. You go back to the Hibs game that's on TV. How many empty seats was behind that goal that our support were in a small section of? It just doesn't look good at all. They're trying to sell the Scottish football, the advert, the brand. Look at this season. It's so exciting. There's a 3-horse race. You turn the telly on, and it's half a stadium. You're not selling it well. So teams are losing money. Look at Livingston. They give us free stands out of 4 because they know they're going to fill their stadium with Rangers support. The Rangers support might not like it, but ultimately, for them as a club, they're taking money in through the door rather than having empty seats. And credit to them. I don't know what other team does it, but they do it because they know they're going to make money. The rest of the teams in the league don't bother. Scottish football don't intervene because why would they? It's too much common sense.
Common sense, Scottish football. Wow.
Aye, not in the same sense. It doesn't sound right, does it?
No. Right, come and join us. Give us your thoughts. 0141 356 1972. Come and join us. I'm saying for the integrity of competition, the SPFL have got a problem, mate. If there's a team that can't guarantee people's safety, should there be anybody there? Robert?
Well, no, that's the bottom line. But it's the support that would suffer and lose out on that. And as I said, a lot of our support travel week in, week out. And obviously, we look at it from our side. We don't care if they've got 10,000 in or 30,000 in. It doesn't matter as long as your support can get to games. But when you look at it and say, well, for fairness, nobody should get in. Well, why should our support suffer for the faults of others and other clubs and their ultras? That's where it lies. We've seen what football's like when there's no fans there during the COVID years. It was horrible. Fans were missing out. Clubs lost a load of money. I know they tried to make money other ways by kind of giving them packages to watch the games on TV and things, but you need supporters at games, Ox. You need supporters. But when it does come down to safety, is that more a club issue or a Scottish football issue?
Well, there's a lot of people felt unsafe up there for a long number of years, mate. It wasn't dealt with, and that's a whole other debate. Look, mate, we knew this was coming. We knew as soon as it happened, you rightly pointed out yourself with AK, discussed it as it happened in front of your eyes, mate. We're being cute here. We're not condoning. We know what happened and how it started and how it finished. Yeah? But there's a deal in place and that deal should be upheld, mate. And then they should put the proper safeguard in place. Simple as that, mate.
Correct. And it's down to It's down to the home team, the stewarding, Police Scotland, to ensure that any support who goes to the game is safe. That's the bottom line. It's down to the authorities to make it safe. Ultimately, as we saw, there was failings at the Scottish Cup game. That lies. I know it's an investigation that's ongoing, so you'll wait and see the findings. But what we can see is, as you said, we told them there'd be problems. The ticket allocation was too high. Police Scotland couldn't handle the numbers. So if they couldn't handle 50 plus thousand at Ibrox, then you're going to be going to Celtic Park with 60 plus thousand. But if our support are not guaranteed safety either, then who does it lie fault with, mate? That's the question I ask. Who is it that takes responsibility for these supporters' safety? To me, it's the authorities and the home team, the home stewarding, the security. If that's not up to scratch and the home team's saying that they can't guarantee their own players' safety, well, they need to look at their security.
I don't disagree, mate. I don't disagree, mate. You know, but look, come and join us. 0141 356 1972, as we said. It'd be interesting to hear people's points of view. Would people be quite happy just to rip it up and just say, look, that's the end of it? Yeah. Or do you feel strongly that we support as part of the games? I've hung my colours to the mast in the past. I've always thought it's a game that was a unique game because of both sets of supporters, mate. That was where the atmosphere comes from as you won. Yeah. It wasn't always great if it didn't go your way, mate. We all know that. But that's what made the game unique. In my eyes, mate, people might have a different. But all Bears pressurised me, beat me up, and I get his argument. Mate. I don't know if I ever want anything back in our stadium, mate. Yeah. But this season, for the integrity, I'm not saying the word sporting here, because I don't think this is a sporting thing. For the integrity of the competition, everything should be fair, mate.
Aye, it should be. It should be the fans go to this game and then you review it and talk in the summer and you make plans for next season. Whether that is no away fans, reduced numbers on both sides, or there's no fans at all. There's options there. But when you've had 3 league fixtures already this season with away support in them, then you've got to keep the fairness there, as you say. Just integrity, fairness, all the words you can put with it for the final game of the league game of the season. It makes sense. Again, common sense, Scottish football doesn't go, but it's simply fairness. Then you can go and look at it in the summer. Like I said, whether that is revised numbers, no fans at all. We've seen what it's like before when there's no fans there. Yes, lost the atmosphere part of it, but you never had these problems, you never had these conversations. So is that the bonus? Is that the pros? You avoid issues like this by making it simpler that no away fans go. But again, I'll say our support travel week in, week out, they back the team through thick and thin, pay their hard-earned cash. Why should all the support suffer of a small minority who, as I said, should not be discriminated against or targeted by other clubs?
Are you saying that you would stick with the 5% rule going forward?
I would stick with it going forward, mate, but it lies with authorities to improve safety overall. The clubs have got the right to sell the tickets to their support away from home, but you need to be guaranteed the safety. But that's not a club issue. That to me comes down to security and authorities.
Mm-hmm. What's your rationale for the 5%? Just so that everybody can get the is it for the atmosphere of the game? Is it for the away support to get? And you can't have it both ways, yeah? Is that what you're saying?
But I just think we've used the word fairness tonight, mate, a lot. I think if you're giving the likes of St Mirren or Motherwell, Hibs, Hearts 5%, then you need to give Celtic 5% when we're at Ibrox. If they're giving teams 5%, well, we should get 5% as well. Again, that's fairness. Why should one team be treated differently than others? Yes, they have caused problems at our place in our stadium, and this is big debacle has been caught is because of that. But again, you can't say the word fairness for just one side of it and not look at the other side. For the whole part of the game, 5% is the minimum or the maximum. 5% is what you get. Whether you sell that allocation in full, that's down to the support who buy it. 9 out of 10 times we know we're going to sell out our allocation. or 10 out of 10 times we are, because there's people grasping at tickets for away games. It's getting harder each week. You hear the efforts of Southside or Stevie or others that phone in trying to get tickets. It's a nightmare at certain grounds because of allocation. 5%, that is it. That's down to the authorities and the security to then uphold security and safety of everybody in the stadium.
Right. I'm really interested on your views on it, mate. Yeah. And obviously there's a large percentage of support have maybe never been to that place. No, because things have changed so dramatically. And let's just say the last 10 years and maybe the last 20 years has again changed, yeah, and the fixture changed, so there's part of me I don't want to take that away for the young bears. Yeah, they've got a right. Yeah, but to do that, there's a trade-off in it.
Aye, there is. It's a difficult situation that you're in, Ox, but it's been avoidable. That's the whole thing. It's all been avoidable, but yet we're having to sit and wonder what ifs and what's going to happen, whether we're even going to get supporters in at Parkhead in May the 10th. What's going to happen next? I think the statement we put out clearly showed that the club are thinking that not only if we don't get tickets for this, there's consequences for future games, which to me reads, well, if you want to sell Scottish football, you want to sell the Old Firm for TV or whatever else, then we are not going to have any away support next season in. And rightly so, if that's the club stance because of actions by others. But if the SPFL turn around and say it's 5%, we get the allocation this time round, you then have discussions in the summer, and that's for those in the power to decide and speak and come to some sort of amicable agreement. But once that agreement is in place, you adhere to it. Yes, things may happen that cause debate and go, well, what's going to happen next? Ultimately, you've signed an agreement or you've came to an agreement that should be fulfilled.
Right.
Can I just say something on that, Ox?
Love to hear your views, Fox.
The other scandal is charging supporters exorbitant prices for the Old Firm games. I mean, it was put down as extra policing costs, and as we've seen, the policing are not doing their job, mate. So that price of £50 for an Old Firm ticket should be reduced to the same price as any other football team.
I think it was neither 60 Fox for some tickets, yeah. I think it was 58.
Well, that was always the excuse, mate. It was the cost of extra policing. And if you're watching what's happening at games now, there's less police than there used to be. Yet the cost keeps going up for the supporters. I think that's all wrong.
Aye, mate. What's your take? What would you do, Fox, with the allocations before we go to the tune, mate? Just quickly.
I don't think I've got the brains to solve it, mate.
I never said you had, mate.
But some things need to change and change a lot in the SPFL. It's badly organised, badly ran, badly refereed. Time the whole shooting caboodle was torn down and rebuilt, mate. And then we can come to some arrangements with everything else that's the matter with the game.
All right. Robert?
I think Fox is right in the point he makes about the ticket pricing, first and foremost, Ox. When Bridge touched on it previously, the view that we get up at their place in that corner with the big pillars in front of you, you're paying that price for a restricted view half the time. So you're not exactly getting a great view at times. And the price is going up and up and up. But Fox is right, there should be a cap as well on pricing, because in this world, times are tough for a lot of people out there. And football's meant to be a thing that brings people together. You start to outprice these folk, then you start to lose numbers as well. So there is a lot of problems with Scottish football, probably a lot more than we think that just ticket allocation for us. But we look at that first and foremost because it's us that's getting affected by it. But Fox is right. You can't disagree with him at all. There's so many problems in Scottish football that you don't even know where to start.
I know what we're going to start with now, mate. We're going to have a tune. Get yourself.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Sure I am an Ulster Orangeman, from Marin's Isle I came to see my British brethren of honour and of fame, and to tell them of my forefathers who fought in days of yore, that I might have the right to wear the sash my father wore. It is old, but it is beautiful, and its colours, they are fine. It was worn at Derry, Aughrim, Enniskillen, and the Boyne. My father wore it as a youth in bygone days of yore, and on the 12th I love to wear the sash my father wore. For those brave men who crossed the Boyne have not fought or died in vain. Our unity, religion and laws and freedom to maintain. If the call should come, we'll follow the drum and cross that river once more, so that tomorrow's Ulster man may wear the sash my father wore. It is old, but it is beautiful, and its colours, they are fine. It was worn at Derry, Aughrim, Enniskillen, and the Boyne. My father wore it as a youth in bygone days of yore, and on the 12th I love to wear the sash my father wore. And when someday across the sea to Antrim shore you come, we'll welcome you in royal style to the sound of flute and drum. And Ulster's hills shall echo still from Rathlin to Dromore, as we sing again the loyal strain of the sash my father wore. It is old, but it is beautiful, and its colours, they are fine. It was worn at Derry, Aughrim, Enniskillen, and the Boyne. My father wore it as a youth in bygone days of yore, and on the 12th I love to wear the sash my father wore.
While you are sitting listening on your own, why not take part and give us a phone? We would love to hear your points of view, so get off your bum and call 0141 356 1972.
Oh. Wow, if that doesn't get you back up for it. What a number.
Just had to put my flute away there, Rocks.
Was marching up and down the living room. I wonder what I'll do every day.
Dancing on a table somewhere.
Oh, man. I'll not tell you the messy no you got yourself in this afternoon, mate. You couldn't wake it up.
Oh, I couldn't even think to imagine.
No. You had me laughing. Ah, dear. Listen, we really missed the two players we touched on that. Hopefully they'll be fit for the weekend, Robert.
Well, certainly from the sounds of the press conference, it sounds more likely that Romans will be part of the squad for Hearts. And I think they're still saying that there's hope that he'll be seen before the end of the season. A lot more positive than maybe they were 10 to 14 days ago. But the word hope is still sitting there, that he's not sure yet. Maybe it's still a 50-50, but certainly Romans sounds more positive, mate. And I think, again, no disrespect to Magoma. If Romans is fit and available, then he's your man to start. He's proved that he's more than capable of coming in. He's got an attacking threat. He can defend. He's got bundles of energy. And as I said, he's got a good relationship doing that left with Mikey Moore, who hopefully he can get over his niggles as well and play a large part of these games, because I think he is crucial in the way we play, the way we set up. I think you can see the level of quality, Ox. I think that left-hand side becomes a lot more powerful and strong going down the sides than it has been these past few games. But again, that's no disrespect to the players that have played there. It's just the position we're in at the minute.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, since the first time I seen Romans, mate, I think he looked a player. But hopefully, this is the end of his injury. You know, I want him to be a consistent player. You know, I hope we've not got our Sterling rumor on. And I'm not saying we have, mate, but Big Sterling, I've liked him. I don't know if he's a fullback. I still think he's the best performances we've seen of him. Big Sterling when he played in that defensive mid role, mate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really do. I think that's when he's been at his best for us. What we've seen him. I mean, he's done okay at fullback, you know, but and he's got all the attributes. But I'm saying that I definitely don't think he's a centre half, and I think that's sometimes some people's problems, mate. When you become a jack of all, yeah.
It's good being versatile. He can cover a lot of areas. I mean, he's started at right back at the weekend, moved to left back for the second half. He has played centre back. He has played defensive mid. It's a good asset to have, but you just wonder if we had another right back option. I know we've got Max Aarons there, but I wouldn't really consider him an option because he's not, again, another player that's not come in and established himself within the first team squad. He was out for large parts of it, not even on the bench most games recently, until obviously the injuries have started to kind of heat up again with us. But you wonder if you had another quality right back, so we say where Sterling would have featured in this side, would it have been in midfield? Would we have seen a different shape than what we've got? Again, it comes down to the personnel that we've got, the quality we've got, and the depth within the squad at this present time, which a lot, as you said, Danny Rowe inherited. He's brought players in. Yes, he's brought in 4. 3 have looked like they can do a job. They're good signings on what we can see so far. Scott Volson's obviously the one that's caused the frustration. The silver lining is he's only a lone player with an option. Don't see it being taken up, if I'm being honest. But the 3 permanent signings, he's improved the squad, and I think it's showing in these last few games that there is quality missing there that you bring to the table.
Aye. I get it, mate. I mean, listen, if we signed 4 players, mate, and Chilwani, who's shown bits, I don't think he was great the weekend, but he was isolated in there, and we changed the setup. You know, maybe we should have started with the 3 of them in there. Maybe that's hindsight again. I get it, but he looks okay without being. You know, he showed moments, looks as if he's got a bit of promise. Nadiri and Romans are the guys that maybe, if you like, became sort of fans' favourites. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. But so if you're saying you've got 3 hits out of 4, mate, Scott Volson doesn't work out. And by the way, you've got that so right because you've got him on loan and you move on. Arguably, you've made 3 signings and 3 of them you look as if they're positives. That's a good hit rate, mate. And if we can get that, because that's what happened in the summer, mate. We signed a lot of players and there was too many of them hits or misses, and they were misses, mate. You know, Aaron's come in, you know. Young Magoma looked really did. He got better. Yeah, he got better, and he's a decent football player. You know, and at the start, the 2 young centre backs looked shaky. You know, and then with Dasgard and with Gassama started really well. Ant-Man, his first came, we thought, wow, run down the wing, put the ball in the box. That's all we want. Just keep it. We've hardly seen it since. You know, so, and Chermiti didn't start well, mate. So, but if you get 3 out of 3, you've done really well. If you get 3 out of 4, you've still done really well. You know, because not all transfers work, mate.
No, they don't, Ox. That's the gamble with every transfer. You could scout a player for as long as you want, and you bring them to the club. They might be not show the qualities and the attributes that you signed them for. Sometimes it's just down to they don't suit the Scottish game. They don't fit in the team as you liked or you thought they would. They don't become that spark or energy to take you up that extra level, provide that bit of quality. But that's what a transfer is. It's a gamble. You want them all to pay off, of course you do. But as you say, if you get the most or the majority of hits, then you do well. My worry is if we don't get this title, that a lot of people say, well, they're not hits because they haven't improved the squad. We haven't won anything. That's my worry. But big picture, small picture, are people going to criticise Danny Rule and his signings in January if we don't win the league and say, don't trust him with another transfer kitty because we haven't won anything? That's my only worry, Ox.
Yeah, I don't see that, mate. He's brought in 3 players that have improved our squad, mate. Unfortunately, 2 of them have caught knocks at the right time of the season. That's doing it a bit of luck, mate. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, Scott Volkson was the one that a lot of people were talking about, mate. And if we're honest, mate, he's been involved in big moments, mate. 2 wonderful crosses. Well, Albert's got a point. This way it was behind him, but let's say he was involved in 2 wonderful moments, mate. When he's put the crosses in and Big Chermiti scored a header and an overhead kick, mate. So Scott Volkson will be seen for years to come in Rangers videos, mate. But if we're honest, mate, he's been a flop.
It has, and obviously, as you know, mate, I bigged him up quite a lot in here. Again, the reputation and experience he was coming with, 40 caps for Denmark, played well at Bruges, that's where he kind of came to the floor. Hadn't really worked out at Wolfsburg, but you still felt that you were getting a player of a better quality than what we had at that moment in time. And ultimately, he's proved me wrong and went the other way, which I think every supporter's frustrated by because we've heard the name, we've seen what he can do. He's just not done it here. And then even if you look at the games where he's been on the bench, he's not been brought on at any time. He wasn't brought on at Falkirk, he wasn't brought on Sunday. Does that speak volumes of maybe where he is in the picture at this moment in time? I don't think it's down to fitness anymore. I think you can say that he's played enough games, he's had rest time in between international breaks, not going away with Denmark, obviously going to Spain with the team. There's been enough time there to recover. He's just not shown enough in the games he's played to take that option up. I'd be very, very surprised if we did, mate, because that would be a bigger gamble than any transfer, I think.
I wouldn't sign him with you.
No, not based on what we've seen, mate. No.
Oh, no
I think if you've got 10 million set by there, which is the rumoured round about the approximately fee that we'll get the option for. I think if you've got 10 million sitting there as an option, then you look at that and go, well, there's 10 million for a player that you maybe get more consistently from. I'm not going to say we'll get him for 10 million, but if you put 10 million towards Mikey Moore's name, I think a lot of fans would rather that than Scott Volkson.
Aye. By the way, when I was talking at the start, it says Mikey Moore never started well. You were questioning whether why we signed him, mate. You know, we were like, Finlay Curtis was further down the road, and he was at that particular time, mate. You know, but fair play to the young boy. He showed he's kicked on leaps and bounds, and as I say, I thought he was excellent, apart from one moment in the weekend. You know, if you critique, you've got to praise, mate.
Of course you do. Of course, as I said, he changed the game in terms of the energy and the tempo we played at. We've seen what he can do, but you're right when you go back to the start of the season, you did question what was the rationale in bringing the guy up on loan who was only 17 at the time, but some people who knew his reputation at Spurs, he's highly thought of. He'd played in Europa League with Spurs. I think he actually was on the bench for them during the Europa League win when they won the league, the title or the cup that season. So he's a player that's got the qualities. And I think we're starting to see as games went on, especially under Danny Rule, how effective he can be. So again, sometimes it comes into the management setup, the coaching, the instructions. I think you've seen a lot of answers of why we brought Mikey Moore. And I think, again, you say the word earlier on, fans' favourite. He certainly became one. He's enjoying his football, and many supporters out there would love to see him again next season, but a lot of things need to happen for that to even be considered.
Aye. Evening, Smurf.
Evening, gents. I was just
Evening,
listening
Smurf.
there. Evening, mate. I was just listening to there about, you're talking about a sort of holistic approach just before the tune to the problems and ills of Scottish football. And yeah, taking a sort of broad brush to it. And I just think the time is ripe for league reconstruction, because I don't think this Tony Bloom's Hearts, I don't think it's a sort of brief soiree into the upper echelons of Scottish football. I think they're going to be sticking around. Brighton look on the cusp of Champions League qualification, as do Union St Gilloise.
Just seen Brighton announced today they're going to build an £80 million stadium for women's football, mate.
It's mental, that, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you know where the Amex is when you drive into Brighton, yeah, I know Robert's there a lot, but when you get to Brighton, if you go left, if you're sort of going towards East,
It's no, I've drove through it, but it's never a place I've ever stopped.
Robert will tell you about it.
Anyway, but as I say, if you think about that, then Hibs have got to be looking to try and challenge Hearts. They're going to be unrest there. So I just feel the time's right to try and elicit a positive change. I mean, I think if you somehow eliminate the 4 games a season, the problem that we're talking about with the Old Firm, you have to right away in terms of the league. But I think to get up to a 20-team league, I think it would take some years. I think maybe a few years there, a sort of Greek-style league with 3 leagues of 14, with the 42 clubs that we've got. I'd be in favour of that, maybe for, sort of review every 3 or 5 years or whatever, But we've got today sort of the teams at the bottom of our league and the top of the championship. There's not a lot in it in terms of quality.
Dunfermline, who have they knocked out?
Well, exactly. And then you when you look at these teams getting into the Premier League, then they're going to get games against the Old Firm, the Edinburgh clubs. So their revenue is going to be greater, so they can grow. It might take a wee while, but whatever. Even if you just went for a 20-team league, it'd take a while. But I think the overall standard of football would be fantastic in terms of its development. If we can't get young boys coming through, these clubs can't play young, seasoned pros and go and spend transfer fees. They're going to play youth, and I think youth development's been a problem in Scotland. I think lower division clubs are lower end of an expanded Premier League. Clubs in that sort of echelon, they'd have to play youngsters, and then that's when you start picking up talent. I think it'd be good for the development of youth as well. But this is the time to do it. Hearts are there. I think they're going to be there or thereabouts. It could be exciting times if somebody had what with a plan and a bit of initiative and a bit of investment, But
Do you think the 4 times a season works, Smith? Yes or no?
no, it clearly doesn't. It clearly doesn't. And a three leagues of 14 doesn't really work either. But it's still an improvement on what we've got. I mean, what the reason I say that is because
how many fixtures is that?
It's still 38 fixtures, so it'd be a home and away. All the teams playing home and away gives you 26, and then you'd have a 7-7 split, and then that gives you the other 12 games. and I think the way it works out is, you can have this anomaly where you maybe go to Pittodrie 3 times in a season. I think although you've still got a split and you've still got 4 games, I think it eliminates that.
Eliminates that. Aye. Yeah, I know.
I mean, I'd only say that because I'm not so sure we've got 8 clubs.
I think we have, mate. I think
You might be right,
If you take this,
just a thought,
If you take the standard of Livingston that we failed to beat, mate, yeah. You've got Partick Thistle, Dunfermline, St Johnstone have just come up. There's you're up to 15. You've got one of the Highland clubs. If you want to throw in 2, there's 17, mate, and then you've got competition between Ayr United,
Morton, even
Morton, and your traditional clubs, mate. I don't.
And another anomaly that it throws out that what you're doing is you're creating wee derbies as well in your top division or other place, I do think it's something that should be looked at because it isn't a 1-horse or a 2-horse race now. I do think Hearts are going to be a sort of fixture and fitting at the top end of your league. I really do, because I can only evidence that by the success that Tony Bloom's had at the other clubs that he's involved with.
I mean, that's fair, mate. That's fair what you're saying about the guy, I thought they lost a lot of money last year, Brighton, but when I read that today about what they're investing in women's football, well, different level, and we might be looking for a new home for Hearts shortly, to increase their revenue.
Of course.
What would you think about the 4 fixtures, Robert? Do you think it would impact the interest, or do you think the interest would grow, or do you think season ticket holders would be so keen if there's no 2 Old Firm games, or would the Old Firm game be bigger because there's only one and the event becomes more magnified?
Probably a bit of everything in between there, Rocks, because if you half them in one game at home, one game away, then you would have the debacle again about ticket allocation, because that's where it would need to be fair. You can't have tickets for an away support at our place and then none at their place, so that again would probably cause a debate as well. You would need to start everything, as Smurf says, from scratch and have everything set out and planned and sorted out. I think the biggest aspect in terms of the Old Firm is Sky want the 4 Old Firm games, and the SPFL and the SFA are quite liking the fact that Sky are paying the money to get the 4 Old Firm games. So when you half that, Sky come to the SFA and SPFL and say, well, we're only getting 2 Old Firm games now, we're only going to give you X and Y amount, then is the governing body going to be happy with that? I don't think so, because they're protecting their pockets.
Would it not be up to them to market it, make the 2 bigger than the 4?
It would be, of course it would be, but would they? The question
breeds content, and I think,
of course, but the question is, would they? Would they try and drive that forward and say, here's 2 games, we're going to build these right up? Or would they rather try and negotiate, or not even consider negotiating a restructure, simply because the deal's there with 4 Old Firm games, we'll take that and move on, let Scottish football die the way it is, because that's what they've done for years. Why would they change now? I don't disagree, Smurf, that a reconstruction would benefit the Scottish game. I think the only thing you would have to kind of do is, how do you manage, or how do you select what teams come up? I know Oxley said there, the likes of Partick, St Johnstone, Dunfermline. If you look at Arbroath, they come up from League One last season into the Championship this season. They're sitting in the Championship playoff. They'd be more than entitled to say, well, we're showing that we are one of the better teams in the Championship this season, but they're a League One team last season, so did they get put up simply because of league position? How do you decide it?
You could skin it many ways. You could transition to 3 leagues of 14 for a few years, let that bed in, and then expand on that, or you could just go for it and obviously take the top of the top of the championship, the top 8 teams of the championship, providing they've got the facilities, i.e., they've got grass pitches.
I seen something today as well, right enough, that somebody, I don't know who it was, I need to go back and check, but I seen somebody said about the League One and League Two in Scottish football, if you were to do a reconstruction, is make it a kind of a north and south, the way they do it in England, the Vanarama north and south, where you've got these local derbies. Fans don't need to pay X amount of money for travelling far distances. It's all kind of localised. And if you need teams, you can bring reserve teams in as well. But again, that's more teams because you're having to kind of find who's north, who's south, or who's east, who's west, and put in
But
reserve teams. But again, it's a
ultim-
lot of ifs, buts, and maybes in it.
ultimately, scarcity of anything creates value. And if you've got one Old Firm game at Ibrox, I think Fox will like this, but I think the price of the ticket could go north, and the value of that game to TV goes north. It's got to. And there's many ways of marketing it to TV. You know, you could sort of pay-per-view or you know, whatever. Or maybe they could come up with their own sort of channel. I know that was mooted, but 20, 30 years ago, wasn't it? It's, you know, there's, I don't know how you go about it. Obviously, how would I know? But it's, I think people with the right kind of sort of business acumen could make it work. And you're not trying to, you're not just going with a 1 horse, 2 horse race. You're now looking at Hearts are in the mix, and that's given everything a vibrancy and a freshness. And whilst we've got that vibrancy and freshness, we could elevate it. You know, you think about it. The Old Firm obviously far outstrip every other club in Scotland in terms of finances and therefore the quality of player. So even if you drop points, although as Oxus said there about no beat Livingston, but theoretically you've got multiple opportunities to regain. If you against slower, lesser likes, if you like, you know, through the course of the season, and that when that's gone, it's gone. So
one of the things I would like to change up, I think the supporters, they go, oh, we're playing Kilmarnock again. Yeah. You know, if you draw them in the League Cup quarterfinals and then you get them in the third round of the Cup, it's 6 times. There was an anomaly there with the Aberdeen thing. It obviously never worked out. We never drew them in the Cup, and we never played them after the split. There was potential for us to play Aberdeen in the year of 26 8 times, mate. How can that be right?
it's mental. It is mental.
And that was obviously the 3 league games that still had to be played because the game was cancelled. Yes,
of course, aye.
right. So then you had the split, which would have been 4. Sorry, no, yeah, 3 after the new year. Yeah, the split. Potential, 3 including the split. 1 in the cup if we drew them. There's 4. It was 7 times if we played them. No, we played them 3 times since January, haven't we? So if we played them in the split, that would be 4 plus 1 in the cup, 5. If it would have panned out. Played them early in the fixtures, 6. Drew them in the League Cup, 7. And then played them around about Christmas time when you start playing the second games. 8 times in a calendar year.
That's bonkers.
How can that be good for your product, mate?
See, you can't really affect the cup games. You know, that is what it is. It's a draw.
Aye, it's a draw at a cup. I get that, but that's what I said, potential, yeah.
But you're right in what you're saying in terms of the league. The playing each other twice a season. These sort of bigger games in Scotland, the distillation of their game, you know, condensing everything down, and it makes them more meaningful. The more impactful. You know, it's. I think even these derby games between Rangers and Celtic, and then you're kind of away to Aberdeen, and there's no love lost there. That becomes more intense. I think the ticket values go up. Aye, it's good, and it's no boring for the other clubs that are there. Maybe there's their natural derby games are with clubs that are nowhere near our top division, and no, Dunfermline, Falkirk, we've seen that in the cup. If Dunfermline were in an expanded league, there's a derby. That's their sort of big rivalry in it. So it's just I just don't see any negatives in it. Just none at all.
No, I don't. I agree with you, Smith. I don't see any negatives in expanding leagues and getting rivalries in, especially at top flight, because it's a selling market that you're trying to promote and entice supporters that. And I think, as you say, that the supporter numbers would probably go up because it's a kind of one fixture at home, one away. We're talking about tickets earlier on. Fox came on and said about an Old Firm ticket price is through the roof compared to other fixtures. So ticket value, as you said, would probably go up, but is that really what you want as supporters? Is these value going up? As long as the quality's going up, you could probably make an argument to say, if you're getting value for your money, but would it improve the quality? That's the other thing. There's still a gulf between them.
Listen. Ultimately, it's a buyer's market, and I get that. You've got to be fair. You've got guys that have been, maybe they don't have a lot of money and they've gone there diligently. Proper supporters every other week, and whatever. I don't know the club. They've planned for the club to work out, but I don't know. Maybe that leads into stadium expansion, or whatever. I don't know, but I just think it's a win-win for Scottish football. Something I was discussing with my dad not that long ago, and he was saying, years ago, you had guys like Jim Baxter coming for Wraith Rovers on the back of playing games against Rangers, and obviously, they'd been aware of him anyway. You've got teams that have got to play youth and in meaningful matches that means, games that mean something. And if you do send youngsters out on loan, you can do it within your own league. They're playing meaningful games, playing men's football. Because at the moment, it's just in the doldrums, isn't it? I mean...
Well, it's no, is it? No, this season, but it's exciting.
Well, this season's no, but overall
it's nothing to do with a split. It's like a game of football. You don't need two good teams to have a good game of football, mate. You need two well-matched teams, yeah?
Aye, that's right.
Aye, you can see a cracking game round the park, and I'm no Real Madrid, mate. But
no, I get that, but you also want to see progress. You want to see
good players, mate.
You want to see good players. You want to see good Scottish players. You want to see.
If you were basing it on Sunday's game, mate, you're signing that boy what? And that performance.
Aye, you would, Aye. But then the upshot of that is, if you'd have watched Majowski at Aberdeen a couple of seasons ago, you'd have been signing him and all, and we have. I thought he had a good game. Really, to be honest with you, I thought he worked hard, worked his socks off.
I agree.
He was certainly putting himself about. He was trying to do the press, but at times he was doing it isolated. You can't do that because that's when you leave gaps in behind. You've got to press as a unit, but it's something Majowski does. He does work hard, but I still think and I still believe that he's more of an impact player from the bench. He's shown that in the games where he's come on. He's got goals. Starting the game, I don't think we play to his strength and style, if I'm honest. Whether that's down to the personnel we've got that doesn't do it, because he does do the runs in behind. We just don't have somebody that can find them with the range of pass. So if you had that, maybe he would probably contribute more as a starter. But I think he's still kind of, for me, an impact player. But I think there's a lot of factors that contribute that to personnel, quality of finding them with through balls in behind. He is still a player that if he gets the ball at the right moment in the right area in the box, he will score goals. He's proved it of recently, getting the goals that he's got.
I mean, I think he's a player that likes space to run into. So that Aberdeen team, maybe, they were under the cosh, balls over the top and that. We seem to get a lot of goals like that. Don't know if when a game's sort of been compressed at the top end of a pitch and it's congested, I don't think maybe that's quite his game, I don't think he's... I think he's somebody that likes to lead a line and maybe a team that's sort of hitting on a break. I think that suits him better. But ultimately, there's got to be talent out there, and I think we've got to develop it. And I don't think our current setup is conducive to it.
I agree, mate. There's too much pressure, and it's because, and also the 3 points for a win, mate. I thought it's changed football as well. We're bringing talent in. If you draw now, it's a disaster.
Nah.
It's changed. If you're talking about just development of players, I'm not saying 3 points is wrong. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is there's two different arguments, Robert. Developing players and what you're trying to do, yeah.
There is. It's a very fine margin. It's one you've got to get right. You've tried before to bring in players from the Scottish leagues that have looked good in teams that you've brought in from. They come to a club and you expect them to maybe kick on a level. Sometimes it's paid off, sometimes it doesn't. And you obviously want to bring in Scottish players. You want to bring them in for your youth academy as well. But if that's not producing, you've got to go and find them. But I've said it before, the quality of young Scottish players there, even in our game up in Scotland, there's not many that you can pick from. It's a very small select few that you hope would make the grade. But if they don't, then obviously you criticise for bringing in a player of less quality.
Anyway, talking about somebody who's always quality, whether it's less or more, it's up for debate. We'll be joined by Josh. Evening, Josh.
It's quality ops.
I'm always quality, mate. So am I.
I know you. I was listening to your discussion about adding the player, the teams into for the championship, and if you would the, I don't know how you would be able to do that, to be honest, because would you no need to have playoff games with League One and League Two as well, and Championship? Because I heard Robert saying about Arbroath. Arbroath are having a really good season. And they're in the playoffs. So I mean, I agree with Robert. I don't think you can discount Arbroath, but there is positives. Because if you bring Morton in, that's you making another derby with St Mirren, the Renfrewshire derby. So that's another derby to the calendar for the league, and it's good. So there's pros and cons, but it's finding a way to try and do it. Sadly,
I think
Smurf
gave you a good idea there, mate. You would go to a 14-team league as your first step, yeah, and you maybe say you do that for 2 years, and in the third year there's 6 teams promoted, yeah, and you would have to change the pyramid at the bottom, mate. It might be that you'll get 2 20-team leagues, mate, or a 20 and 2 10s, mate. Yeah, and then you would have to decide how you're going to promote within and what the standards are for promotion, grass park, grounds, etc., mate. Yeah, but it's not going to happen in one season, mate. There has to be a plan, Josh. Yeah.
So if it has to be legal abiding that you have to have a grass park, then that means Livingston and Falkirk, who are in our league now, would have to make dramatic changes to the surface then, because they're plastic, aren't they, Falkirk?
Well, they've already noticed for the start of 27 season, aren't they?
And they're already on notice. Falkirk are already making plans to replace their pitch, as are Kilmarnock, and Kilmarnock are also well down the road. Are well down the road building a wee sort of training ground, and Falkirk are doing a feasibility study to build their own training ground. So again, these are wee positives. These wee clubs are sort of taking the initiative, and Falkirk are also looking at building a fourth stand and completing that stadium, you know. So again, another positive. I just think the time is ripe for reconstruction.
Are you think it's the way to go, Josh, or would you just leave with the status quo?
I would actually like go for it, because if you think about Dunfermline this season, they knocked out Hibs, Aberdeen, and Falkirk. Boom, boom, boom in the Scottish Cup. So why can't they put on a performance home and away and pick up points, and they would be a good acquisition in the league? There's a positive right away. Partick Thistle.
They're sitting third, mate. They're sitting third, I think.
Well, under Neil Lennon, they're all young boys. That's the way to go. They're all Scottish boys. Todd's I think that boy Todd, the wee boy, he's only like 22. They're all young boys. He's recruited Neil Lennon, St Johnstone. They're coming up this season as well. So next season, sorry. So there's positives. I would go down the road of bringing in most of the championship teams if they get their grunts sorted and all that kind of stuff. Their front door sorted and stuff, and if the league can get the go ahead, then I am all for it, because I think it's pretty, as you say, like we played Aberdeen 8 times, but we're playing Falkirk.
There was potential for it, mate. Yeah.
Are we not supposed to be playing Falkirk 3 or 4 times as well?
No, what I was saying, the point I was saying is that in the calendar year of 26, if we'd have played Aberdeen in the Scottish Cup, yeah, and then we would have played them after the split, we would have played them 5 times after the 1st of January. And then if we played them twice with the fixtures, the way they fell, we could play them home and away before Christmas, and we drew them in the League Cup. There's 8 times in a calendar year. Now, accept that 2 of them are cup ties and you can't do anything about it. Yeah, because it's just a luck of the draw, as Smurf pointed out. But there's even 6 basic, mate, in a calendar year. I don't think it makes sense. Do you, Robert?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense, and that's when you say it gets boring playing the same teams, and when you have the supercomputer doing fixtures, you end up maybe sometimes more away than you do at home for some teams as well, which again causes a debate. So when you've got the 1 game at home, 1 game away with a league expansion, it takes that argument or conversation away. That Smurf's right. I think that the timing couldn't be better to try and fix the league the way it is, but it's in such a mess that you don't know where to start, and there's probably a lot of things and factors surrounding if you do a league construction. Who comes up, who comes in, do you fit the criteria? Pitch is one, the stadium, the capacity is another, the licensing and things is another. There's a lot of kind of factors to consider that teams would have to meet to be in the top flight as such. But does it improve the game in terms of quality you're watching? Arguably, maybe so, because there's more teams. It's a cup final for some smaller teams thinking, well, we've got Rangers at home or Rangers away. We treat it as a game that you want to be underdogs. You go and maybe look for a win. You maybe get up for it a lot more. Your support is filling the ground. You get the money. There's a lot of benefits from it, but there's still a lot of factors surrounding trying to change it. But I just think it's too far gone that no matter what we try and do as a country to try and fix it, there will always still be problems. But how you fix it and how you fix it firstly is the biggest concern.
You'll get problems whatever you do. The point is that you don't need a plan on a page and it's got to be an overnight fix. Ultimately, it can be done incrementally. For instance, we've got a 2027 deadline for grass pitches. So therefore, that either takes teams out the equation. I mean, it's obviously for lower league teams that would have to be extended. So say you say a 2030 deadline. Whether you go to a 20-team league via a 14-team league, it doesn't really affect the bottom 2 leagues, because if you finish in the bottom league, you're going to stay in that league with the addition of the league above. So, and you would have a League of 20 and a League of 22 initially. So I think a lot of it would be self-leveling. You put certain parameters in and criteria, and clubs either meet it or they don't. And as an evolutionary process, you could further down the line, as I say, go for 14 to 20, or you could go straight to it and have a 22-team league, which you could split, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, like you were saying, a North and a South league. It doesn't need to be overnight, but what you need to have is a destination, a final destination. You have to have a picture in your head of how you want it to look like. How you get there doesn't need to happen overnight. But you've got to do something. And I think now, because this isn't a flash in the pan Hearts team, this isn't Hearts 1985, or whenever it was, playing Dundee. It's no Hearts under Romanov before he decided he wanted to be the manager. It's
Right.
I think they're here to stay, and I think
Right,
I've got to respond to that.
We've done it. I think we're on agreement. Yeah. Right. So look, you mentioned Hearts. We've got a game against Hearts coming up. Bridgeman will tell you it is the biggest game of the season. Robert, then Josh, then Smurf.
Oh, without a doubt it is, mate. I know Bridgeman says it every game, but this one is more so. Obviously, coming off the back of the weekend there, it becomes absolutely massive. Arguably, Ox, you've got to say it's a must-win, because if Hearts do win it, they go 7 clear with 9 points to play for. Mathematically, it's not over, but the chances are a very small percentage in your favour.
It's a must-win game, mate.
So you've got to go and get that. Suddenly, the fixtures, when you look at them, they play into your favour. That it's Hearts first and then Celtic, that you can really stamp your authority back into it. For the ones that think that it's over now already, they pay into your favour, but only if we win the games. But Hearts have been there all season. They've shown that they've handled it. They've had the bottle, they've had the nerve to go and win the games. They've grinded out results. They've lost players to injury and they've got by it. It's a nitty gritty for both teams, but it's absolutely massive, mate. Absolutely massive.
Josh?
I'll just repeat what I said to Robert on Friday when he asked me the question, and I says to Robert that we can't give these teams, we can't begin these teams 2 goals a start, and we have to go on the front foot. That's what I said to Robert on Friday. And what did we do? Start slow, and Motherwell got 2 goals a start. We done it with Livingston, we done it with Motherwell, and we done it with Falkirk. I mean, this is the biggest game. This is when it matters. We've not got any lives left. We've used up all our lives, for me anyway. We don't win the league. I can't see us winning the league. We don't win.
Fair, mate. I think that's fair, yeah. I think you're fair, mate. I think you're fair. And at the point about 2 goals, you're right, mate. You're right, and there is an issue. And I think some of it has been a wee bit, we're maybe short of 3 or 4 players for competition for places and being able to change things. But we can't use tiredness as an excuse for Sunday, Josh. We're back on a 2-week break on a high 6-3 victory away from home, mate. We went away to a training camp. Yeah, which, all right, people have got their views on it. I'm nonplussed for it. If the manager wanted it, go for it, understand it. He was trying to do a lot of stuff. Ultimately, people say it never worked out because we never won the game, and that's a fair comment, mate. But you're right about the 2 goals. Fair comment.
I just think watching that Hearts game, Motherwell game, and at the weekend there, our press was rubbish, non-existent. Midfield was non-existent, and their last goal was a throw out for the goalkeeper, and the lad was halfway in their halfway line, and everybody's watching the lad jogging down to the box, our penalty box, one pass, the guy wins in and he scores, comes off Fernandez's head. That's far too easy. What is going on? And they were. See if you watched quickly, just if you watched Motherwell and Rangers and you didn't know who was going for the title, you would put your money on Motherwell because they wanted it more. Right for the off.
I don't think anybody in the last 2 nights has disagreed with that. Smurf, when you come, mate.
Aye, obviously it's a must-win, and then we need a favour. I think it's too late this season, but I'm an optimist. You know, I think we just go and take care of our own business and hope for the best. They think we've got problems at the full-back areas, and
Who would your full-backs be? Let's assume that
actually,
Robbins is fit. Let's assume that Robbins is fit.
I'll tell you what I would do, and people might be no be. I would drop Giga. I would put Sterling beside Fernandes. I'd play Tav and I'd play Robbins.
I wouldn't. Robert?
Keep it simple, mate. Sterling and Robbins is fullback for me.
If Sterling's fit, mate.
Aye, yes. And if Robbins is fit as well.
Aye. I don't think Sterling's a centre-half. I just don't think he is. Yeah. Powerful guy. I just don't, I think he's one of these guys. He's a jack of all. Yeah. But listen.
He's just a good player. A bit an Ian Redford, isn't he? You know, he did a bit of everything, and
no,
I think
he ain't. You don't see. I don't think Sterling can dribble the way Ian Redford could. No,
I get maybe, but ultimately, I think there's a problem at centre half. I mean, I'm not confident with our central defence, and we've obviously got problems at fullback, because injuries and whatever.
Based on Sunday's performance, Josh, we weren't great in the fullback areas the whole game, if we're honest, yeah.
Ox, we're just looking at too many easy goals that can be avoided. I mean, they're going to these summer camps. Well, what are they doing? They're coming back and leaking 2 goals and giving teams 2 goals a start. What are they just doing for the sun and a bit of suntan on the beach? They're supposed to be playing for Glasgow Rangers, and we're paying the money to go in for seats. There's guys there paying money for season tickets and all that, thinking that we're going to win the league, and they're lobbying a Dawson about Raskin's like this brilliant player. He's rubbish. He was non-existent in the first half. Where was he? Where was Chukwamani?
He didn't have a good game. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, apart from the 2 forwards running about, there was very little contribution for anybody in the first half. Robert, we touched on it, didn't we?
We did, mate. We did. But at times, when you looked back, Raskin was leading the press at times. He was in front of Chamiti and Miovski, which left a massive gap in the middle.
So he's either up beside them, or he's behind the 2 centre-halves, mate. Where's the midfield?
Gone. Yeah. You've got Chukwani outnumbered. Motherwell had 3 around him. There was no out ball. As soon as Raskin gets that ball in between the centre halves, you know where the ball's going. It's either going to Giga or Fernandes, who have split because there's no out ball into that middle when Raskin gets it. Chukwani can't take it. He's got 3 men on him. So teams know that. We can see it. It's something that's been apparent in our game for a while since we went to the 4-4-2. You need your midfield as options. That's your out balls or your wide men. But the wide men weren't looking for the ball. They were in areas where they couldn't get it. Again, numbers were outnumbered by Motherwell.
The thing is, Ox, as well, even there's one of theirs, they don't play with out-and-out strikers. One of them will drop as well. So they've got an extra man in midfield. And I think Danny Rowe was out, coach to coach. I think he was outfoxed. I think, aye. They had a man advantage because of Raskin dropping, and also one of their forwards was dropping into midfield. So it was just, it was easy for them in the first half.
No, when Raskin dropped at times, mate, Their forwards were staying left and right, mate. They were playing me two
Aye.
in the old inside left, inside right channel, which gave our centre half's problem. And Fox pointed out, he's right.
Because nobody could pick them up.
They played before in the midfield, so Tukalwani's got 4 players there. Yeah, because
That's right.
Rashton's behind them, and then our 2 wide men, mate, for effort, were appalling. You know. Anyway, we'll talk to you to death. But we need to move on, and I hope that tune inspired people. By the way, I'm not going to say the result, but if anybody's not watched it, go and take some time and look. I've just been sent it. The Champions League semi-final tonight. You'll enjoy it. I've not watched it myself. I'm not going to say the result. I don't want to ruin it for Mr. Fox. Yeah, but you'll enjoy it. Listen, last word for your good self, Josh.
Thanks for having me on. Glad to come on. Had a wee chat with you. Thanks very much, and I'll be on again. Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Do you know when you'll be on, Josh?
At tomorrow.
All right, I just want to make sure I'm off. Right, cheers, mate.
You see that coming up. Oh, dear me.
Smurf.
Aye, right. Thanks for having this, chaps, and yeah, onwards and upwards, eh? Take it easy. Good night.
The jokes don't get any better, Smurf, do they?
They
Robert.
don't. They don't.
Robert.
No, they don't get better and they don't change either, mate. You see, I've seen that coming, Josh. Cheers for having me on, mate. Always good to be on the show, regardless of the if it's a positive or negative over the weekend. But as we touched on there just before the end, mate, massive game coming up on Monday against Hearts. But when we last slipped up against Motherwell, mate, our next fixture was Hearts, and we dominated and won the game 4-2. So let's hope there's a bit of deja vu on coming Monday, and we get right back on our tails again, mate, because it's a massive game, season defining.
Cheers, mate. Listen, thanks to Josh and Smurf for joining us. Fox and Old School Blue for doing the technicals. Everybody who's listening, enjoy the rest of your evening. Rangers Radio will be back tomorrow night between 8 and 10. Take it away, Old School Blue.